welcome back. So today I wanted to talk about 4 spiritual books that really changed my life and really changed my approach to spirituality and have really helped me on my journey. So, book number 1. Now, this is a book that you've probably heard a lot about if you're in the spiritual kind of world, because this is probably the most popular book out there for spirituality and people getting into spirituality, and I would call it an entry-level book. It's quite surface level. It doesn't go super deep, but it gives you a real good foundation and understanding. And the guy's name is Eckhart Tolle. He is the author of this book, and he had his own spiritual awakening, and this is related to his particular journey. What I would say is that you don't need to look at these books, all of these books, and take them for fact. Look at them and take from them the things that you like and create your own path. That's the best thing about spirituality, is that you don't have to follow a traditional, this is it, you've got to go this way path, like a religion. You may as well just join a religion if you want to do that. Spirituality is about taking bits of different religions, different approaches, different teachings, and making your own path. Now, not getting caught up too much in peripheral stuff, being quite direct and having a goal, but working towards that. And these books, there's plenty to take from all of these books, so I wanted to share all of these with you. So the first one is The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, and it's a brilliant book, worth a read, great place to start. Now, deeper dive, and probably not something that everyone would look at firsthand unless you're Hindu, is the Bhagavad Gita. Now, this book is a lot deeper, a lot more spiritual, and is made up of a story. And I think with a lot of religious text, it's easy to get caught up and think, well, that's a load of rubbish, how can that be? And you get caught up in the story too much. You take the story as fact. But a lot of them are like allegories. They're stories that are talking about a bigger meaning. There's a bigger meaning behind the story. The story is just there because it sounds good. And perhaps it was the people of that time took to a story, in that particular way. So don't take the stories and the words as absolute fact, but look at it and think how that can fit into your life. So, for instance, within the Bhagavad Gita, a lot of what they talk about is one of the main people in the book called Arjuna. It's Arjuna's battle with perception. And you don't see that, they don't word it that way, but it's hidden within the story of the book. So the Bhagavad Gita is a brilliant book, great place to understand spirituality on a deeper level from the Hindu perspective. It doesn't mean you need to become a Hindu, it doesn't mean that you need to follow a religion, it's just looking at different backgrounds and taking what you like from it. And this is very heavy on words like God and, mostly God. And that can be very off-putting, especially to Westerners like myself. But you have to look at that and think, well, if that's triggering me, what is it within a word that is bringing out such, barriers within me? And that's a place where then you can look, and that's where you then can grow spiritually, is that you see what's triggering you and you look inward. You don't say, well, that's a load of crap because it's triggering me, and chuck it away. Part of the spiritual path is that you look at things around you that trigger you, and you don't blame those things, you blame yourself. You look at where within yourself there's a defect to be triggered. So anyway, the Bhagavad Gita is second on my list. These are in no particular order, by the way. Third up, Long Pilgrimage. This is a book about a man called the Shivapuri Baba, and he was what's called a self-realized saint. So he was a man who went to the forest when he was in his early 20s with a direct goal of trying to understand out exactly who he is on the deepest level. So essentially, he took the spiritual path to the very extreme, and all of us that may consider ourselves on a spiritual journey, on a spiritual path, the end goal is actually to achieve ultimate realization and understand who we are on the very, very deepest level. And he wanted to know that. He wanted to understand himself and the universe, and so he went to a forest. I think he was based in Nepal, if I remember rightly. And he basically meditated, prayed, did all of that stuff for 30 odd years, until eventually he reached total realization, the absolute goal of the human form. And he then had a book written about him. I think it was people did interviews with him and things like that, and he went on a pilgrimage around the world. I won't go into all of that, but this book is a big portion of this book, at least, is related to questions and answers. So his devotees or his followers asked him questions, and he answered them, and a lot of that is in here. He also had 3 main disciplines that he taught, and that was related to moral discipline, which is our thoughts; physical discipline, which is related to keeping the body healthy, eating enough but not too much, sleeping enough but not too much, moving enough but not moving too much. It's all about physical health. And mental discipline, so meditation, prayer, the spiritual side of things. And his teachings are related to those 3 principles. It's super simple when you look at it, but amazingly useful for most of us for our daily lives. We can take so much from this. He talks about meditation and how to meditate on God and all sorts, but it's again, for Westerners, you can look at that and think, oh, a man that I can't relate to with a big beard wearing a gown, I'm not going to be reading that. And same with the Bhagavad Gita, you can think, oh well, great, a man that's blue with a crown on his head, I'm not going to read that. But we have to look past these little barriers. These parts of spirituality that might not appeal to us are just areas where we need to overcome. I think there's such a barrier within Western society that we get turned away by anything that feels religious or anything that feels a bit biblical or a bit kind of out there. We think, oh no, I don't want to look at that. All of the good stuff is within that. We have to look past those little barriers, those things that we're not happy with, that don't fit in with us, don't fit who we feel like we are, and just do it anyway, and you will gain a lot from it. Fourth up, and equally in line with what I've just mentioned there with regards to being perhaps an off-putting front cover, Answers 1, Mother Meera. So Mother Meera is essentially a spiritual teacher who isn't affiliated to any religion, but she has her own kind of approach, if you like. She arrived self-realized. She didn't become self-realized. So she is what we are working towards, really. And her book Answers 1, which is this one, and also Answers 2, is a book related to her devotees asking her questions and then her answering those questions. And they go through all various topics around life, relationships, work, meditation, the spiritual path, and it's just her answers, and they're very direct, they're very to the point, precise and absolute. I would say, I read a lot of them and I think that sounds spot on to me, that really resonates with me. And she is someone who I've been to see on several occasions in London and in Birmingham in the UK. She's based in Germany. She's still alive, she still teaches, she does online meditations that are totally silent, but it's about encouraging us to embrace silence and to understand that our nature is silent, and we learn through silence, but we clutter ourselves with noise and busyness and action and doing things that we can't realize ourselves that way. We have to realize ourselves by going into silence. And her teachings are amazing and super beneficial, super powerful. She herself is amazingly powerful. And these 4 books, if you read and absorb what's in these 3 books, it will really set you up for being on the right path. They don't talk about chakras, they don't talk about crystals or angels, things that are peripheral aspects of spirituality that, by the way, I do believe in and I do agree are a thing. It's not that I'm trying to dismiss them, but I recognize that they, or at least from my own point of view, they are a big draw on your time, and they don't necessarily progress you spiritually by having a good understanding of them. So understanding chakras, understanding crystals, that doesn't make you any better, doesn't expand your consciousness knowing those things. But sitting down and connecting to your real highest supreme self, your God or whoever it is that you believe in, meditating, serving others, those things grow you. Those things are what progress you spiritually. And these books are practical, pragmatic ways of improving yourself. So I would really encourage you to to have a look at these and not be put off by the front covers that might, you know, to most Westerners be off-putting, and look beyond that. So just to run through, Mother Meera answers 1, and she also has answers 2. The Bhagavad Gita, Long Pilgrimage, the life and teachings of the Shivapuri Baba, and The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Please do like and subscribe the video. It's super helpful for me to grow the channel. I want to try and put this information out there to more and more people. And thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.